One of the things we've been talking about in terms of schools is whether or not we can understand if children transmit more, less or the same amount as adults. And in the last couple of weeks there have been a whole load of peer-reviewed documents that have come in journals like the Lancet, and we now know that children probably transmit and receive the virus about half as much or less. So we use something, you may have heard of antibody testing. We use antibody testing to find out whether somebody has had the virus by looking to see if they've developed antibodies that fight against it. We don't know whether having antibodies in your system makes you immune, but we do know that it's likely that you've had the virus if you have those antibodies. And we use that to test what part of the population has had it already. We call that seroprevalence. And in our country, in the UK and in Wales, we know that the seroprevalence generally is about 5%. We've been doing antibody tests on teachers as well as on healthcare populations. We've tested sort of over 6,000 or 7,000 teachers at this point, and roughly their seroprevalence is about 5%. So about 1 in 20 teachers, just like 1 in 20 adults in the wider population, has already had COVID-19. Now, if we compare that with children, in Spain they did a study of about 600,000 members of the public, and they found that children were about half as likely. The seroprevalence in children under the age of 18 was about 3%. I compare this to 5 to 6% prevalence in the population as a whole. So we know also that where a child is the index case, where a child is the case that infected people, the people who've become infected have had a less severe instance of the virus. And this is really good news, because it means although we know children do transmit a bit, the likelihood is that if you get infected from a child, you will have a less severe episode of the virus. When we take together all of the information that we've found out about the effect that it has on children and the effect that children can have if they're infected, we find mostly that the children who have been infected have only been infected by someone in their household at home, a parent or a guardian. And that means that it really is much safer now to consider opening up schools back with 100% of children present in September.